Hey guys, Ray and Andrew here with REH CPA. Today we wanted to talk about filing a deceased person's tax return. You may find yourself in this situation sometime when you may have to file maybe a parent's tax return or a spouse's tax return. So we deal with this from time to time. So today Ray's going to go over some of the things you need to think about, things you need to know when filing a deceased person's tax return.
Right. So like you said, there's kind of two scenarios here. One of them is if your spouse passes away, unfortunately, and the other one is if like you have a friend or a parent who passes away. First, let's start with if your spouse passes away. If your spouse passes away, then you are going to file the tax return as you did in the prior year, assuming you were filing jointly. You will continue to file a joint tax return unless if you remarried before year end. If you remarried before year end, then you have to do something different. But so what you'll do is you'll file married filing joint, and what you want to do is make sure on the tax return that across the top of it, now if you're filing with paper, which most people don't, but if you're filing by paper, you want to make sure that you write deceased across the top of the tax return along with your spouse's name and date of death. Now most people use tax software, and on the tax software there's usually a box that you can check that the spouse passed away, and you check that box and you put in date of death, and it takes care of the rest of that for you. So if you do all that, and what you're going to do is you're just going to report all the income all the way up to date of death, and everything that you would normally report for them. If there are payments due, then of course you'll make the payments. If there's a refund coming back to you, there's nothing special you have to do. You'll just get the refund and possibly get a direct deposit into your account. So it shouldn't be any big issues there. Under the other scenario where you're not a spouse and you're filing a final tax return for either a parent or a friend that's passed away, then what you're going to do is you're just going to be filing as the responsible person. And same thing, you want to make sure on that tax return you're going to list them as deceased along with their name and date of death. And again, the tax software should take care of all that for you if you do that correctly. Something that's a little bit different than if you're a spouse, you may have to file form 1310. And what that does is basically, and you may have to have some other paperwork as well, showing the IRS that you're authorized to be, you're the responsible person on this account if there's a refund.
Right, so if there's a refund, they have to file the form 1310, say, yes, this person passed away, maybe include like a death certificate or something to make sure they get the refund.
Absolutely. So the most important takeaway from this is to remember that you do have to file a tax return.
Right.
Because, let's say, heaven forbid, you forget you don't file a tax return and there's taxes due. Well, if there was property that was dispersed to the heirs, the IRS can actually come after the heirs for the tax debt owed. They don't just forget about it, right? So they will come looking for the tax money. So just make sure that you get those tax filings done and get all the taxes squared away so you don't have any issues with the IRS.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's really good information. I know it's never a situation anyone wants to have to go through, but and it can be tough tracking down information and knowing what all you need to report on that tax return. So if you guys have questions, if you ever have to file a deceased person's tax return, definitely reach out and give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out.